I'm not in view.
Have you just shown everyone?
Yeah, you just...
We'll just swap it between us.
Hello and welcome to Exotic Gardening with me, Yorkshire Kris. Not in my garden this week. We are live from Brendan's garden, Tiki Tropicals. You'll see Brendan or hear Brendan a bit later on if we can grab him. But at the moment, I'm joined by George.
George, indeed, of George's Jungle Garden, and also
James of Tropical Glos.
what a trio.
What a trio.
So this live stream is basically going to be us chatting about gardening, answering questions you may have. And basically, we're going to bring in some other people as the afternoon goes on and hopefully get their views on exotic gardening, plants that have done well this year, plants that have struggled this year, and any plans people have for next year. So let's just see, before we go into our chat, let's see if you've had any early questions. Make sure you can hear us as well.
I think the first question there is, where did George go? And that's something I'm always asking myself, but we're very much all here now.
Great. Glad you can hear us. So this is our first outdoor broadcast live to the nation with exotic gardening, bringing together lots of different people. And we're going to first kick off by sort of talking about the gardening year, what's gone well and what hasn't gone well in the gardens. So I think we'll start with James to begin with.
Yeah, sure.
So you want to actually, before we start, James, can you just talk a bit about where you garden as well,
Yep.
and then how the year's been for you?
Yeah, so I'm in the southwest of England, but not down sort of Devon way. It's like the lower part of the Midlands in Gloucester, and it's been, like most of the country, an exceptionally dry year, and has presented its own challenges as well, which has been difficult, especially as mine's kind of a newer garden. I know Chris and George is a lot more established, apart from your new one.
Relatively,
Yeah. So it's 2023 it started, so it's still trying to find its roots. So luckily it's a small garden, so no hosepipe bans, plenty of watering. So I've managed to get around a lot of it, but it's tap water. It just doesn't hit the same, does it?
It certainly doesn't.
No.
I know Chris drinks almost exclusively rainwater for that. Is that reason?
That's why it's at all.
So for you, George, again, obviously,
questions.
Your garden has evolved a lot over the years, and especially with the new part of the garden and planting that, obviously must have been a big challenge this year. So how have you found sort of the last few months with the drought conditions we've had?
I think in summary, to keep things brief, although this is going to be a 3-day live stream, I know you want to keep it concise. It's been a struggle for established plants, which are more water demanding, like your tree ferns, your gunneras, things like that. It's been tricky for new planting, even the drought tolerant perennials, especially new trees, because no matter how tough and resilient something is when it's established, getting it there takes a year of care, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And even, looking into the outer countryside, you've got hedgerows, you've got trees that are going brown. Autumn's definitely come early for a lot of the countryside. So it's definitely been a tricky time to grow anything in an artificial environment, anything that either needs more water that would naturally get there, or something that's been recently planted and not grown from seed. And I think as well, something that you commented on one of my videos about staggering yourself, that's been one of my take homes. It's learning that I'm not some superhero that can just go through a garden, achieve lots of planting, and it magically just take off and do its thing. And I suppose learning to do a bit at a time, learning to slow the overall ambition, but realise that your garden's going to be better as a result of it. So as easy it is to dwell on the challenges, I think it's also been a year of lessons and a year of, we'll say, opportunities to learn things that will improve gardening for me going forwards.
Yeah, I mean, I think most of us who do this sort of gardening, we have jobs, we have other things to do in our, that we have to take up our time, and we might have the weekends to do the gardening, and taking on so many extra projects all at once when there's only so many hours in a day.
That's
there's a crunch point where you sort of, you can't, you have all these visions and ideas about what you want to do, what you want to achieve, but you only have so many hours in a day.
Absolutely, yeah. You realise, I mean, obviously you make videos, or we all make videos here. You tend to have to realise in a week you can either look after your garden or make videos or continue with new projects.
Yeah.
And while it's cooler and wetter in spring, you're obviously not looking after the garden as much. Things are ticking over by themselves. You can get on with the other two. But when it comes to summer, you realise that those projects very much have to, sit there and wait while you just keep things alive. That's really been the thing this year. And I know a lot of people come into my videos and yours as well. It's been really brutal just keeping things ticking over, hasn't it, really? Just actually keeping a garden alive, which is challenging.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I've been lucky this year not to have a hosepipe ban. I don't know, I know you have.
No, I've not had one.
So you've not had that drawback, so you've been able to carry on watering throughout the summer.
But even just speaking to other gardeners around the country, I know a lot of people have kind of lost that momentum and that feeling of excitement about the garden.
Enthusiasm.
Yeah, because they've just been spent all the time watering, but then still looking at plants deteriorating over time as well.
Yeah.
So it's not only not the plants, it's knocked a lot of gardeners' spirit as well, because it's just they don't get that feel of the lushness that they'd expect in summer, because they're still working hard just to keep it going.
When things should be thriving, they're struggling to survive, aren't they, basically? Yes.
So I've got a question I thought is worth just reflecting on now, which has come from Norfolk, which is it worth investing in high capacity water harvesting for your gardens?
If we're guaranteed the rain over the winter periods, then potentially, but then you're going to get through, if we have continuous summers like this, you're going to get through that water really quickly.
I think the amount of water used is probably more than you realise, isn't it? If you've got the hose pipe on and you're doing an hour or two of watering, if you had massive, big container of water, you'll easily get through that in just one evening. So the amount of water you need to store would be colossal. So I don't think it's really possible in a domestic garden situation, because you just don't have that much space. So you don't want this massive unit on your land where you think can plant something there, rather than having a big water storage area.
I'd counter that. I mean, I would say I want to have an underground rainwater harvesting set up eventually. Whether that goes close to the house, which I don't feature in the videos, or maybe at the far end, I might work it into my pond project, have something there. I have got a hose with one of those DeWalt pumps, so you can get water and transport from one place to another. So me, it's about maybe having smaller water spots near the house, like visible ones, above ground ones, and then while the rainwater's coming in winter, pump it to something at the far end, so it's there to be used. But more short term, I was going to have 2 IBCs this spring. I know you can buy them second hand for about £50, and instead I spoke to a company who does like really nice black ones, with covers, so they look smart, because that is a part of it, isn't it? You don't want your garden to be an industrial wasteland. He said it's just a wasteland this year. But I looked at these others, and it worked out about £600 something with everything, and it was a little bit too much for me to spend in the money in spring. But realistically, 2,000 litres, like I say, goes absolutely nowhere. So where I am at the minute is looking at something in the middle, which is you can get tanks at about 2,500 litres. And those are roughly about the size of a phone box. So I'm thinking a couple of those,
Right. Okay.
5,000 litres. Well, once everything's established, it can look after the really sort of needy plants. So you're never going to, like you say, you're never going to get something that's going to you store all the water you're going to use in summer in a year like this one. But have we seen the worst possible year, or is it, normality? That's probably the big question, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, you could go to the extreme of, I know some people on large estates would have this rather than a domestic garden, but having your own borehole and having your own water from your own land, which you can use. Obviously, even when there's a hose pipe ban, it's your water, you're allowed to use it. But you're looking at 10, 20 grand to do something like that.
And the thing is, if you go to places like California, which are an extreme example, there's then regulations and rules on whether you can take water from your own land and things. So for me, it's probably the bigger part of the equation is not how can I store my water, but how can I use less and plant in a way that's less demanding. I think that has to be the more sustainable element in terms of my efforts and expenses as much as anything.
Okay, I hope that answered your question, Norfolk. I mean, last thing I'll add on that is obviously having smaller storage areas, like you said, water butts for those plants that definitely need rainwater is almost essential. So like, carnivorous plants that need rainwater.
Yeah.
For tree ferns that really prefer rainwater, that's what my plan is at the bottom of the garden, is to collect the rainwater from the structure that I've started to build, so that I can actually water the tree ferns at the end, rather than having a hose pipe all the way down the garden or lugging the watering can all the way down.
I think another thing that's worth mentioning is if something's easy to water, you're more likely to water it. And this is something I know myself, where I've got tree ferns that are right next to the path, although the big one's struggling, they get watered every time you're out watering. If something is at the far end of your garden or hidden at the back of a border, you're less likely to do it. So that's something where when I'm planting and looking after borders, I'm going to try to, think about that, have the water managed up together, look at the hydrozoning philosophy. And also, if I store water near where the plants that need it, it's a lot more, or it's a lot less of a hassle, isn't it, to actually water them? Yeah, which is a big factor for me.
Okay, just going to have a question from me, because I've got some things I need to do in the background. So I want you two to be chatting away for a few minutes. Is in your gardens right now, if you go into your garden today, what plant looks its best right now? What are you most proud of thinking that looks great?
Weirdly, it's the big leafy lush bananas and insects that just look stunning. But like I say, I'm really lucky because my garden is small, so I can zone off the watering, and a 10-meter hose pipe will water all of my gardens. So I can afford to do that, plus no hose pipe ban. I know our water company hasn't had a hose pipe ban for 35 years, so I can get away with it and concentrate on keeping those big lush leaves. But then I'm also thinking, do I want to keep spending that time watering when there's other plants that I could put in that might not have the big leaf impact, but will have that still the wow factor, still have something that looks exotic, looks beautiful, but doesn't need that maintenance over time?
Yeah, that's very good answer. For me, I think when it comes to parts that are looking good, there's a lot of individual plants which are really shining. There's the obvious stuff, the grasses and a lot of the perennials. Those are really doing well, like the steepers and things look fantastic. But I guess really it's the parts of the garden that are developing by themselves that I find more visually rewarding. So the jabeyas, the palms, the Trachycarpus, particularly the ones that I planted small in my desert island beds, those have grown magnificently this year. All the leaves are green still. I think it is partly or mainly because I planted them small, and I think they're just more resilient long term. So in terms of individual plants, I'd say it's more when it comes to jungle stuff, plants that are surviving versus ones that are struggling, to be bleak about it. But there's a lot of individual plants that are looking nice and looking okay, but for me it's knowing that those yuccas, those palms, and a good third of my garden, what was the sort of far end of my existing garden, those are getting on by themselves, growing steadily away in the background and literally needing absolutely no rainfall. So and the rest is a bit of a mixed bag. I think, to be fair, a lot of my perennial stuff, because I only planted it late this spring, it's going to be next year, the year after, before it fills out. I've got grasses that should be 2 meters tall that are 2 foot tall. So it'll be interesting to see how things look next year without a lot of extra water. They'll still just keep growing. But coming to a place like Brendan's, it really is just an inspiration because it's clearly been watering, but there's also a lot of very, very mature established plants which are getting on, and palms that look fantastic, isn't there?
Definitely. I mean, where we are sitting right now in a beautiful gazebo at the end of the garden, and the views we've got 2 great vistas here. We've got one going back towards the house, back down the garden, and we've got one overlooking the pond, the stream, the river, whatever you want to call it. We've got mist, we've got waterfalls, we've got exquisite planting just within the rocks around the side. I mean, obviously, if you're watching this live stream now, you can't see that, but you'll be able to see that obviously if you watch Tiki Tropicals channel. You can see how he's developed this garden and the massive changes he's made in the last year. And I think there'll be a video coming out, George, pretty soon from yourself.
There could well be a video coming out from me. Who knows? But now I've had the opportunity and pleasure and privilege really to film with Brendan this morning. I arrived at 10 o'clock, a couple hours before everyone else, had a walk around, and I've got to say, in all honesty, I was expecting a garden. I've not watched many of Brendan's videos. I've not watched many garden videos this year in total, to be fair, but I was expecting something which looked quite newly completed. I know Brendan's quite big on the hard landscaping, so I was expecting something that was maybe a little too perfect, a little not sterile, but a garden that was very structured and rigid.
Like a hotel resort.
Yeah, I won't go quite that far, but yeah, I know what you're saying. Yeah, sort of top end, but not my particular style. But having walked around and seen how everything is meshed together after just one quite challenging year, it really is impressive. And even just talking with Shane now, he was saying about how for him, very, very eloquent. Really, he absolutely loved it. He says one of the favourite gardens he's ever visited. Everything just feels so natural. It flows so well. So it really is a mastery, isn't it, of design, planting, and everything. So certainly a garden I've enjoyed visiting.
Definitely. I mean, obviously, your viewers now, when you see all our gardens on screen, you will get a perception, a view of how big things are. But when you actually visit people's gardens and actually see them in person, you get to see the sheer scale, the sheer, the size, how things work with each other, and it does give you that different perspective. And I think for me, coming to Brendan's garden, to Tiki Tropicals today, my first visit to this garden, I found that it looks better in real life than on screen, which is hard to believe because it looks amazing on screen. But actually here, walking around, seeing the actual planting, the attention to detail that Brendan's gone to with the underplanting, and in every little area, every height, there's planting looking really, really good, despite obviously the tricky weather conditions we've had this year.
There's some questions rolling thick and fast.
There is. Let's see. We probably won't get all.
I think we've got a
questions.
wild Shane Bilson appearing.
Oh, we have.
Come in, Shane. Pretends to be shy, but he's walked straight over.
Are your cheeks still hurting, Shane?
Yeah, still hurting from smiling. How fabulous is this
I
garden?
hurt from eating.
That was amazing.
Yeah.
So
wow, blown away by it. Actually seeing it in person, you're like fully immersed. It's like walking down a tropical canyon, and with all palms and cheffrellas and aralias. It's just, I am absolutely blown away. It's fantastic.
Yeah, really is. That's what we were just talking about. But I think what we'll do now, we'll answer a few questions that people are asking, and let's get people's views.
Quicker question.
Yeah, quick question here. So the first question is, if you had a magic wand and could make any plant or palm tree fully hardy for the UK, what plant would it be and why?
That's a good one.
Anyone want to answer that?
Yeah, Sheffra macrophylla.
Sheffra macrophylla. Okay, fantastic plant. Plant that I've had and also killed in the past. So yeah, not truly hardy for everybody, but a fantastic choice.
Oh, absolutely.
Shane, anything that you thought you've seen on holiday, you think I'd love to bring that home and
I'd
grow
like
in my
to be
garden?
able to grow Washingtonia.
Washingtonia, yeah.
I mean, the fact they grow fast, they look amazing, huge palms. No chance in North Staffordshire, no chance at all.
No.
That'd be the farm I'd want to grow.
Yeah, I mean, you see them growing obviously on the coast in places. In London, you'll see it growing and looking absolutely amazing. But try it anywhere inland, away from a city, and it's no chance at all. You might get it through one winter, but then struggle and then dwindle off.
Yep. So that's the plant I'd want to grow. I can't.
George?
And I think for me, it would either be Bismarckia nobilis, just because they're just stunning out. They're just one of the things you see and it's just wow. Or one of the big ferns like Angiopteris avecta, with the fronds that are sort of 5-6 meters long. It's a proper like Jurassic Park type plant. Like genuinely, like you walk under that and it's wow.
Yeah.
I've never seen one in the flesh, but incredible things.
Yeah.
So or maybe one of the Cyathias with the big fronds, the sort of lighter brown, orangey coloured things.
Yeah,
something like that. Yeah, definitely.
So thank you for that question. Let's see what else we have. Let's have a look. Lots of questions. I'm going to pick out a couple now. Okay, we've got a technical question, I think, here. Let's have a look.
Is that the time?
So, a question from Harold, and the question is, he's bought a Boutia odorata and don't live too far from Blackburn. I have a conservatory and I'm planning on putting my Musa Bajus and odorata in there, I'm assuming for over winter. And then question is, I guess, will it survive? Will it be the best place for winter? And will there be any insects that could be an issue in a conservatory over winter? I mean, I'll say go for that one.
Yeah, go for
yeah, yeah. So,
yeah,
I mean, for Boutias, I would keep them outside. I know that you can bring it inside, but if you do, it's going to stress it a bit because it's going to try to grow over winter with really low light levels.
Come in.
But if you can have it against a house wall outside, if you've got it in a pot, or if you have it in a greenhouse, might be better where you can sort of open the doors, get some ventilation, because you can get things like red spider mite, even in the colder months, going onto things like Boutia odorata and then causing issues in spring. So I'd rather keep it outside than inside. But if you know your garden's going to be cold and you're going to get below -5, -10, obviously I don't know your exact spots, but yeah, you might have to bring it in. But if you do bring it indoors into conservatory, definitely take it out when it's warmer weather over winter, because you'll just end up with the plant struggling to try to grow over winter, and then you're going to get less chance of things like red spider mite attacking it. And the other plant, what was the other plant? Musas. Do you want to talk about musas?
Yeah, musas should be fine, but they will keep on growing. So you have to have a very tall room or a very tall greenhouse, because they'll just keep growing with the heat. You're also susceptible to a lot of mites, etc. They always look kind of tatty when you're growing, but as soon as you get them outside again, they start growing fine, don't they? I know a lot of people do keep like insects and things in conservatories over winter, don't they?
Yes.
Yeah, root though, don't they?
They do. But as soon as you get them outside again, a bit of sunshine, get the fresh air to them, and they soon bounce back.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, again, if you've got a musa right now in a pot, I wouldn't say plant it out and protect it. I would say probably bring it in at this time of, well, later on in winter, later on in autumn, bring it in before winter, and then plant it out. I think the best, either plant it out and protect it in the ground, or have it in a large pot where you can sort of, have it near a warm wall or something like that.
Yeah. Or just they do fine in a greenhouse as well. They just sit there. I think it is, as long as the roots don't get frozen through in a greenhouse, they'll be fine. But they'll probably still keep growing, won't they? I mean, it depends where you are. Whereabouts is your north? Up in the wilds of Blackburn?
Blackburn, yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, we do have a Blackburn expert, but he doesn't want to come on camera, unfortunately. Here he comes.
There we go. Shade off for now. So, okay.
Go for it, Tom.
So we've got Tom joining us now. Tom, do you want to say hello, say where your garden is, and then we're going to sort of answer a few questions people have.
Sure. Hi, everybody. My name's Tom. I'm from Palms and Exotics UK, and my garden is in Blackburn in Lancashire. So I did hear the question before from Howard, and I think Howard is actually just fact-checking my answer that I gave him the other day on one of my videos. But broadly in line with Chris's, I think if I said stick it in the greenhouse, it's ideal if you can bring it out. But I assumed you maybe couldn't, you just wanted to put it somewhere once, so I'd leave it as late as possible before bringing it in, and then get it outside as early as possible in the spring.
Because you've got quite a few young Boutias, haven't you? And you leave them in an unheated greenhouse with a bit of heating cable around it.
Yeah, about 50 watts of heating cable, not much, so it gets pretty cold in there.
It's the snow that kills them in my garden. Heavy snow. I think if you actually just put an umbrella over it, it'd probably survive.
Yeah, definitely. So let's go from the question about wildlife here. So one from DB3, which is, what exotic looking plants are particularly good for pollinating insects? So flowers and things like that.
My favourite group of plants are Aeliaceae. I have never seen so many bees on a tree called an Radiolata. It flowered this year and it was absolutely swarming. Never seen so many. So you can have lots of flowers which attract different types, but for bees, something like Araliaceae, Fatsias, Scheffleras, Aralias, they just attract them like nobody's business.
Definitely. I mean, they're related-ish to like ivies, which again are
Mm.
fantastic for late flowering and for the pollinators. George, your
Yeah.
thoughts?
I definitely agree with the Aralias, and visited Shane's garden obviously recently. Again, there's a huge swarm of hoverflies, isn't there? Bees, flies, everything really enjoying it. So that'd be one of my key picks. But I think probably the most important thing, I know you're probably wanting specific ideas, but it's try a range of plants, because we need to provide nectar and different food sources throughout the year. But having an exotic look doesn't necessarily be a barrier to that. So you can have your Aralias for late summer, you can have your Fatsias for winter time. There's a lot of exotic looking ground covers, like your dead nettles are things that start really early in spring, euphorbias later in spring. So I think it's ultimately, if you want to create a haven and habitat for wildlife, first and foremost, it's about variety, but certainly the Aralias that James has mentioned. And I think the euphorbia is probably the main one for spring. And then also don't be afraid of mixing a few, natives or interesting pollinator friendly plants as well.
Great. That's great. Anybody else want to talk about that?
I've noticed that there's been a wider array of insect life this year. I've
Mm.
seen so many more reports of the hummingbird oak moth.
Yeah.
I've seen a hornet hoverfly this year, which I've never seen before. So it seems that, I don't know whether it's the combination of the heat and the different plants that I'm growing, but the variety of insect life this year has been vastly
Yeah.
different from many
Yeah.
years previously.
I think gardens have been really important for wildlife this year because it's been so dry. And obviously, if you've got a garden, more likely to water it, keep plants looking good. And if you're, the insects and things, you've still got flowers doing well in your garden. Whereas in nature, things have dwindled and gone by sort of end of May.
Chris, it's time to get the red carpet
Oh,
out. We've got a
here we
VIP
go, after
in
some
our
of that
midst.
question show.
I don't want to interrupt you. Lot keep hearing.
Tell you what, this is a good opportunity
You
for me
can-
to go and
you
get some
can pop
chicken.
in.
I think it's time for a one-on-one with Brendan, Chris.
I think it might be.
I think it might be, yeah.
We've been talking about your garden, Brendan, so it'd be good to bring you in and sort of ask any questions or answer any questions people might have about your garden. And then we'll go back to the Q&A.
I've got a
as well.
microphone.
Yeah.
It doesn't work. It's
So you can see. So
See you later.
see you later, James.
I haven't got my glasses on, so if you could tell me the questions.
I will do, certainly. I mean, we'll have a chat first, and then questions will come through, and I'll sort of pick them up and ask them direct to you. So I've been saying how obviously we're in your garden now and how you've transformed it a lot over the last year with the pond project, with the redesigning the lawn, with the yin yang, and obviously the amount of detail you've gone into and thought process you've gone with the planting and with, well, down to where you put every single rock, every single pebble in the garden has been phenomenal, seeing all that detail and where you've shown that in your videos since probably last spring, where you've gone through that transformation and people can see what you've done, when you've done it, how you've done it, and the thought processes you've been going. So if you can just talk a bit about what the garden looked like, so this time last year compared to what it looks like now. And I've been saying to the viewers watching this live stream, obviously to check out your videos to see what it looks like now, but also George will be bringing out a video soon as well, showing his perspective on the garden. But if you can just talk about what it looked like a year ago and then what it looks like now.
So I have documented it, as you know. I tried to do it almost like a DIY. I am a landscaper. I think I need to point that out. But I'd never built a pond before. And I sort of just randomly come up with a design. I drew it out. I think every garden can help if you can see it on paper first to sort of know how to put things together. I had a big circular lawn, which I never thought I would change. It's a family garden as well. And then I sort of come up with this design and I sort of looked at it and looked and I thought, do I really want to undertake that? And then I just went, yeah, I'm going to do it. And I'll be honest, there was times when I sort of went, why? Why am I taking this on? But I could, the whole period, I think I could still see the picture in my head of what I wanted. Being a landscaper, I have to be very good at seeing a drawing and imagining it finished. So that really helps. But there was a lot of evolving as I went through. You think you know where you're going to put stuff, and then suddenly you've got a Trachycarpus in the way, so you've got to curve the stream a bit different. You know, there was one point I showed where I dug the stream up, and I thought I'd found a bomb shelter
There was corrugated metal, rusty metal,
Yeah.
everything in there. And at that point, I was like, right, I might have to fill this back in and do something different. But yeah, so there's a garden I love, which is Anthony's garden, Contemporary Jungle. He is very much into his detail.
Yeah.
And he will say to you openly, it's a blessing and a curse, because you can overthink about it. You can ponder too much. Oh, does this go there? Does that go there? And this, and you can overthink. But when you get it right, it's nice, it works, and it makes the garden sort of come a little bit more alive. And one thing I will say that the pond's done more than anything is it's given me movement.
Yeah.
You know, if you've got a garden with sweeping grasses and bamboos, you can get that movement. But now I have a current that flows down through the garden. I have fish that swim backwards and forwards, and it takes that stagnant feeling out of the garden, which again, I think I've said it was the most stressful thing I've ever built, because I'd never built one before, and the way I did it was quite tricky. But on the other side, it's by far the most rewarding thing I've ever done, and it's as simple as that.
Yeah, I mean, the results speak for themselves. It does look phenomenal. And I was saying earlier, obviously, everybody's seen your garden, see it. Most people who see your garden see it on a screen. They don't come in person to see your garden. And obviously, I've seen your garden evolve over the last few years. But then actually coming here, looking around, looking at the scale of the planting, the detail is totally different from seeing it on a screen. It's better in real life than when you see it on a screen, which is really great. And
That
a
is
nice surprise as well.
That is tricky. The cameras just never show that.
No, they
That
don't.
is the problem. I've been lucky enough to visit some beautiful private gardens, and the amount of times I can move the camera and go, it just doesn't show how good it is, because a garden being in it has a feeling or an atmosphere, which cannot be created through the camera. It's as simple as that, because your eyes, your senses are just everywhere, whereas a camera focuses on the set point you're moving it.
Yeah.
So it's nice that you say that, and I've had good responses today, which is really, you know, I'll be honest, I was quite nervous. There's people with beautiful gardens that have come in to see my garden, and I know it's not a judging thing, but I kind of want to hope that I've done well. You know,
Yeah.
I am very good, I think, at showing where it went wrong as well. I don't always pretend that, oh, this is the way to do it, it's going to work. I've made lots of mistakes, planting wise and setting stuff out, but learn from it and see how you can change it. And that's the way I try to work.
Definitely. I mean, what do you feel about in terms of what was the motivation that kept you going to get the garden done? Because it was a lot to do.
I'm not really sure. I can see, to be fair, once you've started, you've got to finish.
Yeah,
That is the
yeah,
simple
yeah,
thing.
yeah.
You've got a big hole in your garden and you've got to keep sort of moving. But saying that, I don't know. I can honestly say there was times I was really, really down with it, and I think I showed that. And the comments I got on my videos, the support was just second to none. People just like, you know, keep going, keep this. But on the other side, everyone was going, it's going to be amazing. And I'm like, I kept thinking to myself, what if it isn't? The whole time, it's going to be amazing. I just kept thinking, yeah, but it might not be. It could go horribly wrong. And I think that's what made me keep working on the details, making sure, and also without impressing people that I respected. You know, I know my videos were being watched by people that had stunning gardens and had been doing it many years. And I know people that build ponds for a living, and that stunning ponds for Chelsea Flower Show and stuff. And I'm thinking these people are watching my progress. So I sort of just, it helped me up my standard, it upped my game to a degree. And yeah, I think it sort of helped, but it wasn't all great. And there was times where I just thought, there was one point where I had to go on. I was going on holiday, and it was the best thing that happened, because I was so engrossed in the garden, how I could get it to work, how I couldn't, and it wasn't working. And then I went away and I come back, and it was quite strange. I was in Madeira and I was walking past, and there was these slate stone walls in one of the hotels, and I'm looking and going, oh, that might work in my stream.
Yeah.
And it was just so randomly. And I sort of used a little bit of that to get over a problematic thing. So inspiration came from everywhere. Simple as that.
Brilliant. That's great, Brendan. Question I've got was about the conundrum you've got with where you were talking about having a waterfall, a high waterfall,
Yeah.
dropping down and going under the
Yeah.
bridge. What your thoughts are on that? What the future
It's
might
still in my head
right.
because I feel like I didn't achieve quite what I wanted to by letting it go. I did let it go because I opened my garden just not privately, but the village local to me had a charity day. So we opened for that. So I needed to get it done quickly. But it's still in my head. If I can make it look authentic, I don't want it to look like Disney World.
No.
I don't want it to look like it. So that's
That's
it's
a
very much
challenge. Yeah.
it's very much a designed garden. But when you're trying to make a waterfall randomly come out of your fence,
Yeah.
it's quite trickier to do than you
Yeah.
think.
Yeah.
I did lots of drawings on it. It is still there. And even I think yesterday I was looking at it going, okay, let's just see. So that may be a project for next year, but I'm not promising anything.
Right, brilliant. Let's see if we've got any questions. We've got lots of people wishing you well with your garden and saying how it's been fantastic to watch the journey. Let's see what we've got. We might have some questions. It's all right. Let's have a look. I mean, right now as we broadcasting this, the sky is getting a bit dark, isn't it?
Yeah, there's quite obviously we've got the gazebo roof over us and lots of plants giving us a canopy. I hope people can see us.
Yeah, we've got the extra lights on, so hopefully people can see us. So we've got Paula Hawks saying they've been watching your pond build and think it's amazing. This is a good question, I think. Let's see if we can answer this one. What's been the most expensive plant you've lost in your garden? I'm going to think of that as well. I think for me, it's probably maybe not one of the most expensive, but one of the plants that I really wish didn't die was Juania australis, which is an extremely rare palm tree. Really, really difficult to get hold of, but it looks truly tropical, but it has some hardiness. And I got it, and basically, I kept it too wet. I kept it in the pot it came in, and it didn't have great drainage. And I sort of thought I'll plant that in a few months' time, but I just left it, kept watering it with everything else, didn't realise how moisture retentive the soil was, and unfortunately, within about 3 or 4 months, it had rotted off and died. And it's one of those plants that was so hard to get. So that's my biggest sort of annoyance and regret about quite an expensive plant that I won't be able to get very easily again.
Okay, so I don't think I lost anything really expensive because I tend to grow plants that can take my conditions. That doesn't mean I haven't lost stuff. But saying that, when we was doing the building work on the back of my house, I had to put all my tender plants into my greenhouse. It was that packed I couldn't get in there, and I lost 80+% of my colocasia collection. And I used to have a big collection, I've probably grown over 100 varieties. I don't know what the most I had at once. And yeah, I lost a lot. I just couldn't get in there. It was so crammed. And that was gutting because I lost colocasias I know that I would never get again.
Yeah.
And they've never been ever for sale since. So yeah, I would not expensive, but I lost nearly a whole collection, and it changed the way I thought about colocasia because of that, to be fair.
Okay, I mean, yeah, I mean, colocasia is well.
And
going off
what I'll say from your point of view, Schefflera macrophylla, at that size, that would have broke my heart.
Yeah,
I've planted one out this year, and it's gone downhill quick.
it's a heat.
It's
a heat.
really struggling. It may be in a combination of while I was on holiday, it might not have been able to get watered properly. It's going to be dug back up and brought into the greenhouse and hope I can recover it because they're not a cheap plant. So Schefflera macrophylla is not looking good, and it's probably going to be my casualty from this summer, I should think.
Yeah, I think with Schefflers, if you're buying them, I would say a top tip would be check the roots, because if they've been put somewhere really sunny and hot, and obviously they're grown in plastic pots, if the pots have got really hot, they've got really sensitive roots. And I've found when I've had a couple of Schefflers a few years ago, I picked them out of the pot to plant them out, and I noticed the roots were just rotting and basically just burnt with the heat.
Yeah.
And I think they really don't like dry for too long or wet for too long, so they are a bit difficult to look after.
I had grown it on for a year in a bigger pot. I'd potted it up in
Yeah.
a free draining mix. It had been out all summer the year before, hardened off, went into the greenhouse. It had then spent a good few months outside, probably hardened off. And again, I'll blame Anthony for his contemporary jungle. He went, I'm planting it, I don't care. And I went, right, I'm going to do it then as well. I think we even said Yorkshire Kris had these out for years.
I've had it for years. It was fine. I mean, it was just the drought that did it.
Yeah.
A few years ago. So I thought it was getting watered enough, and it went downhill sort of end of September, October time. It started looking really ropey, and by November it completely dead. So it wasn't a winter thing. It was definitely a summer thing that caused it to go downhill.
And if I lose it, I will probably get another one, and I'll just go, right, okay, I'll keep it in a pot, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
The
They're well worth growing. Fantastic
Oh.
plants. Absolutely stunning.
I love them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do.
Got a question about the pond, and that is, have you had any issues with the water levels with the hot weather?
Yes.
Is it?
Yeah, in the heat, it has dropped down quite a few times. I top it up regularly. Luckily, you are allowed to top it with a hose pipe. I have it connected to a dechlorinator, so that it goes through that. It sort of filters the chlorine out. And by doing it regularly, I just keep topping it up. So yes, the water has been going down, not through loss of water, just evaporation.
Okay. Let's see if we've got other questions. Let's have a look.
I also have had a problem with it overflowing.
All the rain we've had.
Oh, I've
Yeah.
got an overflow in it to take it away to like a gravel area, drainage underground. And I was actually coming out here this morning before you lot got here, because you wouldn't have been able to walk over the stepping stones because the water would start to come over. So I've either got
some special guests joining us this afternoon. Oh, yeah, careful the cables. Let's see who's joining us now. And
I'm here listening to.
Go and sit down, Andrew.
I'm multitasking.
George is hiding behind the camera.
I'm intimacy coordinator.
So, would you like to introduce
Andrew?
yourself?
Hi, it's Andrew from Grow Tropical MK. Pleased to meet you all this afternoon. Coming here from TROPICON 2026.
We're like the Goonies. And
So,
Oh, yeah.
don't forget Eddie.
Eddie's here as well. Do you like to
And
say?
here's Eddie.
Eddie from Woeley Tropicals.
And
What an introduction.
You got to hold the mic, Eddie.
Yeah, I've
you're
got to hold it
on the mic,
myself.
yeah.
Yeah,
So
so it's
do you
Eddie
want to
from
talk
Woeley
a little
Tropicals.
bit about where you garden and your YouTube channel and why you're here today?
Yeah, so I'm here today to see a proper tropical garden, unlike my own that's in Birmingham. Mine's been kind of in the process for about 5 years. So I've got some decent level projects that I'm going to take on board from some of the video that Tiki Tropicals has been throwing out, creating more of a vibe. This kind of thing was completely alien to me when I designed the garden, which is about putting things in pots and standing back a little bit and seeing how they've done, but things have grown a lot bigger than what I thought.
Yeah.
So things need moving. Things on the labels as well that said to get 3 or 4 foot are like 12 feet now. So there's been a lot of fluke with the garden as well. So it just look decent. But like I said, I've been to 50 Shades garden last week, and I went to Steve's, and yeah, I've learned an awful lot. That there's an awful lot still to be done in the garden, which was quite daunting. But actually, I don't think I ever really want the garden finished. I think it's something that I enjoy to do. I enjoy to tinker.
Yeah.
So I'm actually happy with that process. Ages ago, I wanted it done,
Yeah.
and then that was me finished kind of thing. But I'm quite happy now that it probably won't ever be.
I think it's true for all of us. We like to do the gardening, so we're always wanting to change things.
Yeah.
You know, things look good at one point, but then sort of might think actually it might look better somewhere else, or I want to bring in new plants. You see things online, you see things in garden centres,
Yeah.
and think, I want that in my garden. Where's it going to go? Obviously, you probably buy it, and then you realise actually where is it going to go, because
Yeah.
you haven't got space for it. But yeah, it's never ending, isn't it? Milton Keynes, tell me
Yes,
about your
indeed.
garden.
Yeah, so I've been at my house now for 5 years. Started off as an evergreen type of garden. I had a cord line that was already in my garden, but it was flattened by the 2022-2023 winter. I got really annoyed by that, so I bought myself a Trachycarpus fortunei palm tree, and my love for tropical gardening went from there, really. I was lucky having an already developed garden. The basics was already there, and it's just about taking inspiration from gardens like Brendan's, because this is an amazing garden. Absolutely. I love the way you walk into his back garden and you're completely enveloped by the jungle. And yeah, I think it's really, really impressive. So if I can aspire to be not like Brendan, like myself.
This is why you're my chosen charity.
But yeah, no, I'm just really, really into my plants these days. I'm a gardener. I have been a gardener for about 14 years, but it's surprising how much you can get into power tools and not knowing anything about plants. But 5 years, I've been solid on the plants and learning all about them.
Brilliant. I think we'll answer, or we'll try to answer a few questions people are asking.
Okay.
So loquat trees. Has anybody had a loquat tree actually bear fruits?
Not me,
No.
unfortunately. I've got a really large one in my garden. I was just discussing this, and we're looking at Brendan's. It's actually coming to a blossom, hasn't it? So I suppose following the blossom becomes the fruit, or comes the fruit. And I don't think we're probably not likely to get fruit, unfortunately.
Yeah, I mean, I've had it flower a few times, but it's so late in the season. By the time the fruit are trying to form, we've had frost, and then it's completely killed it.
So I went earlier in the year to visit Simon and Harriet's garden. Amazing, amazing garden. There in Northamptonshire, I looked up at they've got a very large, mature Eriobotria japonica loquat, and it had fruit on it. So
Amazing.
yes, but it's 4 or 5 times the size of the ones in my garden. I've been close. I've had flowers on many times, and then it just gets frosted off at the last minute. But I remember filming because I was so surprised that they had fruit on. So yeah.
Another question about loquat trees is, this is from Paula Hawks. I would like to get a loquat tree. Have I left it too late in the year to plant it, or should I wait until next year? Any thoughts on this?
Obviously, the first thing is, where do you live? But if you're in the Highlands of Scotland or something like that, it all depends on where you live. I wouldn't worry about personally. I don't know what anyone else about putting a hardy.
I was thinking about it myself.
It all depends on the winter, doesn't it? That's the thing. Ideally, I'd put it in spring, so it has the whole season to go in. But if you get a really, really wet winter, depends if you're on clay, depends on so many conditions. I think if you put it in, but then we could say put it in spring, and then you could get the summer we've just had where it didn't rain for the whole year. I don't think there's an easy answer to that. There's so many variables. I don't know what other people's opinion on that. As a landscaper, if I had to plant one to get a garden done and get that impact, would I put one in now? If the soil conditions were right, yes, I would. But there is a lot of variables, that we don't know. I don't know what other opinion. That would be my opinion, and that's not a great answer because I don't really know so much.
I think for me, I would plant it now, or even maybe wait a couple of weeks, wait till we've had even more rain, because this year's been so different in terms of it's been so dry that anything big planted in spring has had to struggle just to be kept alive because it's been so dry. And it's probably not been the best year for planting hardy shrubs in spring because it's been so dry. And I think autumn planting is possibly the way to go.
I would just, if you're not boggy in on heavy clay that doesn't drain, I think if you've got free draining soil, that opens a lot more doors for planting in autumn. And then for that, I think it's a really good idea. But if you're boggy, horrible conditions, and it's going to just sit wet without rooting for Yeah, because loquats do get a little bit. I've suffered with fungal on a lot of, not so much my ones in the garden, but I've grown some from seed, and they can get a bit of fungal stuff on the leaf. So you may find if the roots are not really happy in the wet that they might get fungal issues. I don't know.
Okay. Hopefully that's answered your question. And we've got another question for Brendan, and this one is from Paul Nixon. And it says, I live in a coastal garden. What plant or tree will go in a small garden that's near a pond that gets full sun? And that's from the Paul from the Isle of Wight. So it's obviously a mild climate. So I'm assuming he wants some ideas of trees that can go near water without being too much of an issue with dropping leaves and causing too much shade, I guess.
If we're talking tree wise, even evergreen trees just drop leaves like crazy.
Yeah.
Especially when it's dry, they'll drop them in the pond. I spend so much time picking leaves out the pond. It's unbelievable. Put a few waggies in.
Yeah.
Really, do you know what I mean? They're not going. The worst that's going to happen is the lower leaves are going to yellow off a bit, and they're easy to just cut off. Yeah, I think being coastal, because then you might, depends how coastal. If you've got to do it, because trackies don't do very well with them salty water, so it depends how coastal. But yeah, you're always going to get leaf dropper even off evergreen. So that is what that is. A few waggies, I think. If you've got time, because obviously they're not cheap and they've got to have time to grow.
I mean, I was looking now at your garden. Obviously, you've got the stream running through, and what have you got planted around the stream? Well, you've got the Dicksonia antarctica tree ferns. You've got the tetrapanax, which is absolutely colossal. The trunk on that
Enormous.
is absolutely out of this world. It's probably one of the thickest trunks tetrapanax I've ever seen.
But have you seen how it's grown forward?
It's grown.
It was in that back border. But now it actually looks good the way it's come over the pond.
But my observation here is you've got plants that are hanging over the water, but they've all got big leaves. So even if a leaf falls off, you've only got one leaf to get out of the pond.
Correct.
Rather than thousands of little leaves. Which
So I know the Americans, when it gets to fall, a lot of them net it. They'll net their pond just to help catch all the leaves and stuff like that. Visually, I don't want that effect. I also have a current that goes down the pond and takes all the leaves to one end, like it's got an intake bay which acts like a skimmer, so I can literally, all the small leaves that drop get pulled down to the end, and I can just net it from one place, which makes the maintenance a bit easy. But yeah, evergreen palms, really. It's easy, isn't it?
Any other thoughts, you guys?
No, I'd go for exactly the same. So looking here, you can't go wrong with any of the palms.
So evergreen sort of trees that I've got here, I've got Magnolia grandiflora, that will drop leaves. I've got the loquats, that will drop leaves. I've got red robin, that drops loads of leaves. The eucalyptus, loads of leaves. So yeah, whether you're evergreen or deciduous, you're probably going to get more leaf drop from the living evergreens in some way, because it's continuous.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I think one thing I've found is having bamboos near water. Bamboo's always dropping leaves out there.
Yeah.
Thousands all the
At least
time.
10 months.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely not. I'd also be a little bit nervous about having bamboos near a pond as well, just in case they find a way out.
Exactly. Because they can punch I mean, it's so strong, they can punch us straight through a liner very easily.
Yeah. I remember I think I went to a zoo one time, and they was coming through the tarmac of the path. So yeah.
Some of them will find
once they're mature, they can find their way.
I think we've got some extras that want to come in and join us.
George is floating around behind the camera.
I prefer it this side.
Out of the hot seat.
Make the way.
You can stay. There's plenty of space. Plenty of space. Camera picks us all up.
So you've been smoking for 10 minutes. I thought you'd want to get in.
Oh, we're comfy here all the time. Still been
So hopefully we can still hear us, and there's people still watching while we're just chatting away. I think they are. I've still got to keep refreshing the comments, because sometimes it goes a bit funny, but I think we're still getting there. Yeah, I think there's still people watching us. So, question I'd like to ask everybody.
Oh, we can get you in, Eddie. No.
Let's get an answer from everybody on this one. What is the most overrated plant in terms of what people say is that, oh, that's definitely hardy and you should definitely grow it, but actually not a good choice, especially if you're not on the coast or not in London. What palm or plants, not a palm tree, but any sort of plant you think, yeah, it looks great, but is it going to be easy to grow throughout the year, or am I going to have to pamper it?
I don't know about the hardiness side of it so much, but Brassiopsis mitis can be overrated. It is a stunning looking plant, but it's delicate. If you've got strong winds, it's going to get battered and stuff like that. I think the hype over mitis is, I understand it with a snowflake type of leaf. So I'm sitting here looking at one now all bent over, so it's easy for me to say, compared to some of the other Brassiopsis like Dumicola and stuff, which have got probably more hardiness, better leaf shape, keep their leaves longer. Yeah, I don't get me wrong, I wouldn't be without it.
Yeah.
And I know from George's video, seeing the one at Jenny and Rogers, and you just go, wow. So I understand that it's got there, but it can also get a bit battered if you haven't got a really sheltered spot for it and the right location. So I would say that, not so much about the hardiness, but I think for the desirability of a Brassiopsis mitis, where everyone's like, oh, it's that sort of plant, and it doesn't always live up, in my opinion, to maybe the hype.
Yeah, I mean, Brassiopsis, I mean, I've not really got into them yet. I think they look good when they look good, but they spend so long without any leaves or without the leaves looking fantastic that there's other plants that are evergreen, like, you know, the Fatsias and Polycarpus, that look similar-ish, that are just easy.
I think Shane said on George's video, I don't want to speak for him, but about Fatsia Polycarpus and stuff. Now, I know they have their little problems sometimes with aphids and stuff like that, but they're a do-gooder. They look good all year round.
Plants.
You know, they do look good. If you don't get the distorted leaves from the aphids, which I'm not a pesticide person. I literally, as the shoots are coming out, I get my hose pipe full blast when we're allowed to use it, that is, right? And I just keep blasting it all the time. So if there's any little aphids or anything on there, I try to get them before they sort of ruin that new growth. That's the downside. But yeah, I've probably steered away from the question. But anyone else, what would that plant be?
For me, it'd be Shamrops humilis.
Yeah.
I think, you know, lots of people say it's hardy and it's dependable and it's brilliant. I just can't get them to grow. You've got fantastic ones here,
Okay,
Brendan,
that's
of course, but
a surprising choice. I would have said.
Yeah. Don't even think about it. I don't.
it could be because I'm in the northwest and we get
Too wet.
cold and wet. So
Yeah.
the one, I mean, I can grow them; they are alive, but they're just covered in spots.
Mine's the same. Yeah, completely agree.
And what soil have you got?
Play.
Clay. What have you got, you, Tom?
Yeah, they're in clay, slightly raised.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think winter wet is a killer for so many plants, isn't it? You know, you can get it. Some plants are fine with the cold, but it's the wet that can do the damage. And I think we so quickly forget what previous weeks or months weather's been like. Like right now, it's quite overcast. It's been raining for a few days, but we've had such hot weather. You know, it's hard to think what was last winter like. What was 3 winters like? You know, was it a really wet winter? Was it a really dry winter? It's really difficult because the last 2 winters we've had have been exceptionally wet, and people haven't been talking about plants struggling with the cold so much. It's been about, oh God, it's been so wet. Are the roots going to rot? Are we going to get spotting? And then you forget about that in summer. You think, oh, everything's great, isn't it? You know, and then you've got to come round to winter again and think, actually, it's got to get through winter. I mean, with Camrops or Chemops, I think they're one of my sort of go-to hardier plants.
Me
But
too.
some I found individual plants spots more than others. So some are completely fine, right next to another one that gets spotted really, really bad.
Yeah, and I think probably your advice as well as other people's was, to keep trying.
Yeah,
And
keep
I
trying.
feel like I've tried quite a few times.
Yeah.
With different plants.
I know you can't see it on camera, but there's one there that's in nearly all shade, and it has no problems whatsoever.
Yeah.
It really, you know, it is what it is. I grow plants that other people just easy as anything, and I struggle with. And Scheffleras for me, I've killed so many Scheffleras.
That was going to be my
Yeah.
pick actually,
Yeah.
Scheffleras.
You know,
I've spent a lot, and I think probably got about 20% of the Scheffleras that I originally bought. I've lost the rhododendron I've lost the foliage off it this summer, and I think that's due to the heat. It was doing amazing, but it's just, yeah, suddenly decided to defoliate. And it's not one of those one plant I would never plant again, because they're beautiful plants and they've got their place, but I just think it's a bit unfortunate, and I don't seem to be having too much joy with them.
Yeah. I mean, until recently, Scheffleras were really expensive to get. I mean, they're still expensive now for small plants, but they used to be like really expensive to get any sort of decent sized plants, and you couldn't get them from many places. If you bought one and then it died, it's like it's a huge, obviously, disappointment. They spent a lot of money and then it's just died. So, yeah, I mean, I can see it as being quite an overrated plant if it doesn't do well for you, because you see it growing in some other people's gardens, think, oh, it's amazing to get to a tree-sized plant. But I found it's quite finicky. It can't be too dry for too long, can't be too wet, and it can be they can just drop dead even in the middle of summer as well as winter. So they are a bit temperamental.
I think that's why it's handy though to have us all together, because our opinion is totally different to Tom's. I wouldn't say, if someone had said that one of the top 10 plants to put in a garden, I would have said Camerops humilis.
Yeah.
I would have said no problem, no nothing, brilliant. And then we're hearing totally the different side of it from a different part of the country. And we're always sort of saying what we think will be good in a garden or what works for us. But to get many different opinions gives a wider scope on, throughout the country. The UK's got so much different, sort of weather patterns and stuff, depending on where you're in, from Cornwall to Scotland. So it's even now, I'm just surprised that was even an answer. So it's a learning curve for us too.
Do I need to leave? Is it the wrong answer?
No,
No wrong answers.
No.
If I hadn't put them with you.
No wrong answers. But it is, there's we talk about north-south divide and difference in temperatures and growing
East and west
conditions.
as well.
East and west is
For
just
rainfall.
as important, I think, because I'm right in the middle of the country, but slightly in the east. I'm east of the Pennines, and I find that it's really dry. And then you go like 20 miles to the west, and you go over to the dark side, to Lancashire, and it's completely different landscape. It's it's wet all the time. It rains all the time.
Still green though, isn't it?
So George, back to the question, which was most overrated plant, or the plant that you say you probably wouldn't grow again.
So for me, I'll answer the first part, which is overrated, and I've actually got two, but for different reasons. So the first one, Boutia as a palm, because
Okay.
you often hear a lot of the US growers saying it takes down to this temperature, and over here they don't. Certainly not in areas, as Brendan said, with heavy clay soil or with a lot of precipitation, and especially around us. Although it gets very dry in summer, we get a lot of low-lying mists in winter, just because of where we're positioned on the edge of the Lincolnshire Wolds. So for me, I found it's nowhere near as tough as it's made out to be. And a lot of the hardiness figures from even the decent reputable sellers are around -9, -10, which is probably applicable for a large mature plant, somewhere that gets a lot warmer temperatures in summer and a shorter, sunnier winter. But for me, I found them to be, well, the exceptions, are really I've got two maybe surviving. One crossed with a Jubea. The small one's completely gone, absolutely frazzled. And I think probably visiting other exotic gardens, they're probably the number one plant which is struggling, but people keep it there because it's not technically dead. So you see it growing one leaf at a time, but they're so slow to grow, particularly when they've lost a lot of foliage. That'd be mine for a plant which doesn't reliably look good and won't reliably get through most winters. Mainly odorata, when I say that, I should say. And the second one would be tree ferns, purely because they have got a very sort of hard tolerance in terms of what cold they can take. So they're good to a point, but you'll find out very quickly in your area, if you're too far inland, they'll get to a point where -10, -12, and they're sort of beyond saving, aren't they? So
Yeah.
we've all lost tree ferns. We're all clearly on the edge of where they can be grown, but no matter how much you wrap them, if that cold's going to last for 2 weeks, a bit of fleece isn't going to do anything. So for me, they're one of those plants that, yes, they're often sold as a hardy plant, and again, the extreme temperatures are quoted as these can take this, but they can take damage over successive winters, and they're not bulletproof hardy. So I'd say.
And you've got the summers where, like this, it's been so dry that if you've missed water in a tree fern, it might still be looking okay, but it's not thriving. It's just surviving.
Yeah, one of mine's really struggled for that reason, and that isn't without watering. I water them probably 2-3 times a week, something like that. So yeah, definitely a high maintenance plant, and certainly not a reliable choice. As much as I am probably one of the people most responsible for rating them, I do see that for a lot of people, they're not necessarily a staple plant I would recommend as the first plant to start a garden.
No. Eddie, you got any overrated plants you can think of?
Yeah, I've got the dregs of what's left now, so I was going to echo a couple of other people's points now.
We'll go the other way next time.
Yeah, mine's the Phoenix canariensis. Primarily because when I first started, I bought them, and a lot of the garden centres said they were hardy and all the rest of it. And when I planted them in the ground, every probably week or so, I was cutting a trim back, and then it ended up with literally just one frond left on it, and I lost a few, and it was very disheartening for me very early on. It really made me, because it was the first set of like say 100-200 pounds worth of plants that I'd bought, and to see 3 or 4 of them die, I definitely had my wife questioning whether I could garden, if I should be spending my money on that. And it really nearly made me fold on that. I have got another good couple of examples, and I know the bigger they get, the more reliably hardy they can be. You need the trunk and that. But that wasn't explained when I was looking online. It says things are hardy. It doesn't say how these develop a hardiness over a certain period of time. So I thought I'd choose that kind of an example in case, because I know they're being sold quite readily now in B&M and places like that, and it might be worth protecting them for certainly until they get a decent trunk on them.
Fabulous. So we've had a question from Kevin Spence, who's got a fantastic garden, and he's
pressure's on now.
so the question. It's a nice question actually, which is what would be your go-to exotic type of plant for a small garden? So, I mean, we're all of gardens of different sizes, but I wouldn't say any of our gardens are extremely large. Maybe George might be going that way with the land.
Garden, isn't it? I need to buy another couple of fields.
Yeah.
Which isn't going to happen.
So go-to plant.
A go-to plant for a small garden.
I think let
Exotic
Eddie
type
have the
plant.
first bite of this one.
I would say colocasia.
Okay.
I think they give a real tropical vibe. It also gives me that little childish thing when I'm in the garden with a hose pipe, because they're hydrophobic, so the water kind of bounces off them. I like the fact that you get certainly with the bigger ones as well, you can get some huge leaves on them, and it definitely gives a tropical look to them. And they're also one of those types of plant, like especially like pink china and stuff, where you only need one and you can adequately split those throughout the garden. So I think it's a good for people on the budget, and it does give that kind of tropical vibe, and the fact that they can survive without much protection, if any. That's a top choice for me.
George?
I think very simply Waggy, which is a palm we're all fans of. Kevin, I know you grow them as well. It's a good doer, simply put, very adaptable, cope with a lot of different conditions, relatively compact crown, fast growing, just really one of those plants that can fit in with a lot of different styles, I suppose. So if you've got a more arid garden, it can work. If you've got sandy soil, it can work. If you've got heavier clay soil, you want maybe more of a jungle garden, again, it'll grow very well for you. So yeah, can't really fault it.
Well, I'm just going to eat a muffin while everybody else carries on talking about their plants.
Back on, yeah. It's a
Hang on, Mike.
good buffet.
We're all trying so hard.
I was I know. I was also gonna say a Waggy, but even in a large garden, probably, but especially in a small garden. So what I'll go with is a cordyline, and I know Kev's not asking this for his own benefit, but for on behalf of a new gardener, I guess. I think cordylines are underrated. I think they look fantastic. They're cheap. They're pretty reliable. If they die, they grow back again. So and they grow quickly, so you get some height in a very short time. So I think that would be a great option for small garden.
Took the cordyline right out of my mouth there. Yeah, I would have echoed the same thing, really. They're not necessarily hardy, but they do grow fast, and it's one of the first things that you refer to as a palm tree, even though it isn't a palm tree. I'm going to have to pick something like a Fatsia japonica. I think that's a really good shout. Evergreen, it's hardy enough. You can even get a small one for a pretty harsh winter. They grow to a good size. They don't really need any special soil, no special nutrients. Well, mine don't anyway.
Your yellow ones.
Yeah, my yellow ones. Oh, yellow ones. Obviously, those are the ones that either haven't got any nutrients or planted out in the sun, but a nice shady spot. And yeah, really, really good plant that gives that tropical vibe.
Good suggestions there, by the way. I think if I was starting off, Mahonia soft caress, because hardy, evergreen, tolerates most soil types, I assume. Literally, you can grow it in the shade, you can grow it in the sun. So, and it's just going to be a do-gooder and look good all year round for me. I don't know, I'm looking around, I probably have 10 maybe, or variants of that, from Mahonia, Sweet Winter, there's Volcano, I think there's a Mahonia Meteor now, so slightly different leaf shapes on them. But yeah, if I just wanted an all-round easy plant to look after, I think I'd go Mahonia soft caress. But I would, Fat Ears and Waggies and all that are just as in there, definitely.
Definitely, yeah. Yeah, some good choices there, I think, for a small garden.
You enjoy your muffin, Chris?
That muffin was nice, yeah. Thanks for chatting away while I can have some sugar to keep me going. So let's just check in with the other questions we've got and make sure people are still watching and we're not just talking to ourselves.
So I'm sitting here thinking,
This is Richard watching.
I'm sitting
to one.
Kev Spencer's the only one.
Yeah, we've got some other people.
Flat our phones and doing it ourselves.
We're just talking to each other anyway.
No one's watching.
I didn't know there was a camera.
When I was fed up, just watch one of Andrew's videos, Tropical MK.
Yeah.
Got a red back.
It's right, Andrew watches mine to get to sleep, don't you, Andrew?
Exactly.
Okay, so let's see.
Should we give some rapid fire questions?
Sure, yeah, I can do rapid fire questions. I've got some here. I'm prepared for everything. We've got crazy stories section coming up. We're not there yet. We're on.
Are we staying over?
Good job. Good job. It's a bank holiday weekend, isn't it?
Sleep over.
Right.
Tiki Tropicals.
I'll just shout the wife to get some pillows down. I think we've only got enough food for dinner.
Right. Rapid question. Ask you all. What's the next plant you're going to buy?
Ooh. I don't.
That was one big leaf from a
The wind's just picked up, and I've just lost a big tetrapanax into the.
So you're going to buy a new set.
Eddie's going.
Yeah.
Eddie's swimming, looking for it. There we go.
Oh.
That's a prop, that isn't it?
So this is like quick fire, and I can't think of an answer. Does anyone know that?
Move it on.
Yeah, go on, move on, and I'll think of one.
Hold on, I haven't got an answer yet. What was the question?
That's one of my greenest ones.
What plant are you going to buy next? Or what do you want to buy
Oh,
next?
right. Well, hopefully, if someone's bought some plant, I'm actually developing a new bed in the middle of my lawn, to the right of my lawn. Not quite sure yet, but I'm after a hardy palm to go in this new bed. There's not a Trachycarpus fortunii, and it's not a Trachycarpus wagneranus, but I don't really have an idea. So I'm hoping that in the next couple of days I can pick up something
That's a Princeps hybrid.
like that
just there.
Princeps hybrid.
Yeah. Did you bring a spade?
So yeah, I'm hoping that that is going to be my next palm, because I feel that I need another statement piece more in the centre of my garden. Something like the Princess hybrid. Is that the one that's really slow growing?
No, the Princeps.
Princeps.
The Princess.
Is very
So
slow.
that's
The
probably
hybrid's
not going to
slow.
do me too good, because I'm going to be watching it for years. But potentially the hybrid's going to gain some height a bit quicker. That's a really good shout for me.
I would like a Schefflera Taiwaniana. I don't currently have one, and it's probably one of the last things on my list.
Okay.
I'm not a plant collector by any means, but yeah, that's one thing I'm on the lookout for.
Very
So,
good.
it's me.
George.
For me, it would be some kind of shrub. I'm planting a woodland area in autumn, so I think something relatively tough, hardy, beautiful that I can get in at the same time, so everything establishes nicely. So not an especially exotic answer, but it's the one you get in.
And threw me off there.
Oh yeah, rapid fire.
Nearly at it.
Right.
I think George has got somewhere.
Oh, yeah. I was chewing on the phone then for a second.
I'm making content for Chris.
I had a sensible answer then. I've completely forgotten what I was going to say now. Oh, yeah, Schefflera Alpina. Yeah.
good
Okay.
choice.
Yeah.
So even though I've talked about Schefflera's being a bit overrated. Two of you want to grow Schefflera's next?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even though I agree, because I've killed all the Taiwaniana that have died. So I thought I'll try the Alpina in a different location
Okay.
and see if it works. If it's not, I'm going to write them off.
Fair enough. That's good. Another rapid question is: What plant would you grow if you had a dream greenhouse? You could heat it as much as you liked. What exotic would you like to grow in it?
Mine probably is it Crotosacus renda, the lipstick palm.
Lipstick palm, yeah, that's a
Yeah.
great one.
That one. I've tried to grow it from seed a couple of times.
Yeah.
Apparently they're quite easy to germinate, but they die very quickly thereafter unless you can maintain the humidity. So yeah, the lipstick palm is something that I've had on my list for quite a while.
Brilliant. Thanks, Eddie.
Mine would be slightly predictably the same as my dream plant choices. So either one of the big tree ferns that we can't grow here, or Bismarck inabilis. Depends on the greenhouse, obviously the height and the long-term prospects. But yeah, something big that we can't grow outside.
I'm afraid I can't actually answer this. I know everyone's going to be so disappointed, but it's after this we're going to have a little quiz, a little game show with the 6 of us here, and this is the answer to one of my questions. So I can't say, or everyone gets that point. So if you want to know the answer, then you'll have to watch my video when it comes out.
Got censored
We're
content.
making YouTube money for Chris. He's found us all out something. Well, he's sorry.
Don't hold your breath. It might not be coming out too soon, but at one day you'll watch it and you'll realise that's
What
the
you're gonna
answer to my
say.
question. Exactly.
I'm trying to name a plant offhand that I can't grow in my garden, not really one in my garden. It's a bit tough, actually.
What would be the overall look you want? Like a tropical or
Yeah,
a
well,
Mediterranean?
I went on holiday recently, Spain, and I was saying to George, their palm trees look completely different over there to what they do here. And I saw one that kind of had like horns on it. Really hard to describe, actually. Ponytail palm, I think it's
Okay.
called. I could be completely wrong there. Looked amazing, and I knew there was no chance of me growing it in a UK tropical garden, so I was really impressed by that. So that's what I'd go with. And I don't think it's called the horny one or the ponytail. It is now.
I'm like George. I would go for a Bismarckia. I think they're one of my favourite palms. Also, Cyathea medullaris. I know the name's changed, but just think they're an amazing tree fern. But also heliconias. I think they're just a stunning plant. So yeah, I would literally have an Eden project and fill it full of all of them. I couldn't pick one or two, unfortunately.
Okay, thank you for those answers. We've got some more questions coming in. We won't have time to do all the questions that have come in because we can't live stream 24/7, but we'll try to get through
It's
a
like
few
Big
more.
Brother. He'd be watching the chickens eating now.
Okay. So Joy, I think it's maybe Joy C, UK. What's your favourite plant you've grown from seed? And that's to everybody. So we'll all have a quick think. I think this is where we're silent while our brains are whirring, trying to think, what have we actually grown from seed? What looks good in our gardens that we grew from seed?
To be fair, I do grow an awful lot from seed. I was speaking to Nevin B. Gardens earlier about different plants. I'm trying to forget their names a bit now, but spiral aloe was one of my favourite ones.
Yeah.
Anything agave is really, really easy, but you think it would be a bit more tough than it is. And I think I wouldn't start with anything like palm trees and stuff because they take an awful long time. I've been growing some for 5 years and they're probably still in a 1 litre pot now. So Polonia as well was another kind of felt like a bit like a magic bean kind of plant as well. But I forgot the main one that I was just about to recommend. But I'll grab the mic in a second when my brain's activated again.
So I'd love to say the tender and poignant moment last year when we grew some acorns with my young daughter, and it was a magical bonding experience for the whole family. But instead, it's my Jubea that I grew from seed. That's pride of place in the raised bed, just because it actually grows quicker than you might expect, and it's one of those plants that it's a real leap of faith growing something from seed that you know is going to take a decade before it forms something big. But the one thing that people never really say is a decade is going to pass by in literally no time at all. So for me, it's not just about the fast things. It's about something long term. And it makes you wish you'd actually grown a lot more at the same time, because otherwise I'd be on a yacht by now and probably somewhere genuinely tropical. But I think that's for me, something long term that I can look at it and go, that is now a proper specimen and I've grown it from a seed and it was worth all the effort.
I remembered my answer. Papaya, red lady.
Papaya.
Yeah,
Answer.
papaya red lady.
Nice. Mine would be a waggy. So I've grown a few waggies from seed. They're not quite, as Eddie says, they're slow to get going. I've not not got the magic touch like George, I don't think. But you know, they're like your children almost, aren't they? When you've grown them from seed, they're like, you know, they feel extra special rather than something you've bought. So
Have you got a favourite?
Child.
depends which one. No, but that's my answer.
Okay. I only started really growing tropical look plants from seed last year, and I've got a Solanum pyrocanthum,
Okay.
which is member of the nightshade family. Spiky kind of leaves on it, little purpley coloured flowers. Yeah, really impressed with it. It was the only one that came up of about 10 seeds, and yeah, it was good. Lots of canna lilies as well, but that one definitely is the most interesting and my favourite plant I've grown from seed.
Brendan?
I think I was saying to you earlier, I used to grow different cannas and try hybridizing them, and at one point I was growing loads of different canna Thai smoky flame, which is like a purpley leafed canna, and I had a polytunnel absolutely full of them, and I'd grown them all from seed, and one come out with the most purple leaves out of all of them, and had really mango flowers, and I just looked, I could see it straight away, and it stood out by a country mile above them all, and it was just absolutely stunning. And that winter, they all got cut back to the ground. I didn't know which one it was. I dug them all up, retried to grow it, and never see it again. And it still annoys me to this day because it was an absolute beauty compared to all the others. So that's my answer.
Good answer. I mean, I think for me, it's great to grow things from seed that are really quick and gives you colour over like 1 year, or like ricinus, you know, massive leaves within a year. But things like palm trees, things like trees, or anything that's going to be long-term agaves, they're the most rewarding long-term. And, you know, for me, I think I've grown quite a few Trachycarpus crossed with Wagneranus that some have planted in my garden, some I've given away to family, and I've enjoyed watching them grow over the years, and also seeing them grow in other people's gardens as well. And I think that's really nice, being able to grow things from seed and sharing it and letting other people having those plants as well and getting the enjoyment in their gardens. So yeah, I think Trachycarpus from seed, easiest palm tree I think from seed as well. Really good starter palm if you want to go into growing things from seed. You do have to wait a few years, like we've said. You know, it's not a quick thing. You're going to see a big palm tree in 2-5 years, but you know, give it 8-10 years, you're going to get a decent sized plant from seed.
And that's what makes it so special as well, isn't it? It's the investment.
Can you just read that question out, because it's by Steve Taylor and it says, "Do you want a cuppa?" And he's down there with my missus.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, and the other
Another
guests
round would be
are
great.
getting ignored.
Now I've got a really tricky question here that I don't think we're going to be able to answer, but somebody may surprise me from the panel. It's not one I can answer. So,
Me.
so a question from Lorenzo, and they're asking, has anyone grown Diorama pulcheremium? Any tips on how to treat it?
No, not me.
Come with a good answer.
No,
I've never heard of it though.
no,
Unfortunately,
No, not me.
no, not for me.
unfortunately, I don't think we're going to be able to answer that question. I mean, we have, you know, we try our best to answer questions and have all the knowledge in the world.
How's it spelled, Chris?
Diorama.
Like an angel fishing
Diorama.
rod?
I was thinking that, but the second part of it I didn't recognize it. The pulcheremum. You think it's the angel fishing rod?
It's an angel's fishing rod. Shane Bilson's actually got them in his garden. We didn't talk about it in the recent video, but they actually look quite spectacular.
do.
Like a grass foliage. Flowers really persist for a long time. So I can't give you any tips on actually growing it, but it's definitely a worthwhile garden addition if that's what it is.
Yeah, if it's that, I know it's like it almost looks like a grass, but with flowers, doesn't it?
Yeah, essentially, yeah. So something I might work into mine in future. Yeah, that could be it. Yeah.
Yeah, angel fishing rod.
Yeah.
That's it.
There we go.
Got the
So
big fan.
we know what it is, but we don't really grow it, so we can't give much advice on it. But I think it's one for sun, isn't it? From where I've seen it growing.
Shane's got it in a raised bed, but for me, again, I'll grow it with the grasses. You know, something that ties with the overall look, but bit of flower proper colour.
Next question is from Rooted Studio World, and they're asking, they've got a Trachycarpus waggy, and they've cut into the trunk. Will it not grow? It appears to be stuck. So my interpretation of what you're asking there is you've cut into the top of the trachea where the growth point is, where the leaves come out, and for whatever reason, well, it's trying to grow, but you've damaged it. Do you think it'll survive? Do you think it'll look good again? Well, my initial thoughts are if the damage isn't too bad, it will come right. You know, the growth point is near the top of the trunk, but not literally at the top. It's a little bit set back. So underneath, new developing leaves should come out in time, but you might have some damaged leaves for, the next, could be 2, 3, 4, 5 leaves.
Yeah, Chris is looking at me and I'm holding the mic, so definitely give it time. Don't assume it all is lost. Like Chris said, the growing point is at the top of the palm, but it's also just a bit below it. So you might have just cut off the new growth now, but give it another few months, maybe wait until next spring and you might see something growing. But it's well worth giving it the time anyway, just in case there's a chance of recovery.
We've got some congratulations for Eddie here. We've got
Good for me.
got a nice comment about your advice. So Joyce says, "Thank you guys. Mine's a manioc." Oh, I think he's talking about their favourite plant.
Okay.
A manioc Grammii followed Woeley Tropicals guide.
Oh, thanks.
So that's going well.
Appreciate that. 3 packets of Manny hot seed, and I got 1 to germinate, so that's worth a round of applause if nothing else. I appreciate that.
I like this next question. This is a good one. Thanks from Great North Exotics asking, what are your thoughts on ugly plants? What's the ugliest plant you grow? And for him, it's Pseudopanax ferox, which is a very tall, spiky, almost dead-looking plant. But
Until they get bigger.
yeah. So ugly plants. Is there any plants in your garden that if people look at it, think, I don't really like that. I don't know why you're growing it.
No, I'd only heard of that plant when I went to 50 Shades. They've got one, and it's extremely sharp, but it's an unusual thing. So although it might not be one of those aesthetical ones that you kind of run to, it was something that other people don't have. So I quite like the ugly looking plant. I don't want to be the one to label them ugly. But traditionally, I wouldn't have anything that I deemed to be ugly because I wouldn't have selected it in the first place. So it's a bit of a silly answer for it, but I would literally only buy things that I thought that I like the look of truly. I know things like dahlias are hit and miss. I've grown some dahlias and some people have a love-hate with those, but it depends on the colour, the blouse, and ones and things. So maybe those kind of thing where I was going to get a load of cactus ones because I like the look of them, but I know certain people say they've had their time. But yeah, that's my semi-political answer.
Thank you. So for me, yeah, as others have said, Pseudopanax is definitely a very bizarre looking thing, but I love them for that. I don't think they're ugly nor are they attractive. They're just a very quirky individual plant. So I wouldn't say something like that. I think something that's probably one of those variegated willows with pink in it. See you later. That's all the guests leaving now. We just run off the Chris now. I think something that's either a plant which definitely isn't happy, like your camrops or chemrops, where it's all spotty and black and not really doing well, or something that's just in every single garden that just looks a bit naff, really, for want of a better word. There's a lot of very, very common plants in garden centre. They sell, by the bucket load just because they persist and they survive anything, but that doesn't mean they actually look good. So for me, ugly, in terms of a plant's visual characteristics, is something that I just wouldn't want to grow myself, and that's really that group of plants. I don't really say anything, but yeah.
Yeah, you've kind of touched on my answer there. It's my spotty shamrocks. Even Volcano in pots seem to be, they look ugly to me, and I'm persisting with them. And we were having this conversation earlier that Brendan, his garden looks fantastic because he won't put up with anything that looks ugly. Whereas I'm there going, well, I've paid money for this, and I'm sure it'll be all right. But so I'm kind of holding on to hope that it'll get better. But yes, my shamrocks for me.
Yeah, I think sometimes you got to cut your losses, haven't you? Sometimes with a plant, you think, I spent some money on this. It's had a bad winter, or you forgot to water, and it looks like on the edge of death. And you think, I should nurse it back together, but back to full health. But if it's a really slow growing plant, especially some palm trees, it can be a very, very long process before it's looking good again. Sorry.
Yeah, so Pseudopanax ferox, that is, it's one of those plants that is a bit Marmite to some people, but as Brendan said, once that produces a canopy, changes from its juvenile state into a mature form, you've almost got a completely different type of tree, plant, shrub type thing going on anyway. But I think where I am in Milton Keynes, there's lots and lots of new build areas, and the developers pick the same set of plants, and it largely consists of Euonymus, although Brendan's got a beautiful Euonymus that pokes up behind the Tiki hut over there. Whereas you just see the same copy paste plants all over these new build estates. I just don't want any of them in my garden, really.
I
Although,
was getting at like your red robins and your heathens and stuff. It's like, well, it's everywhere. It's
yeah, yeah. A red robin's not a bad
Yeah,
one,
not
I'd say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They throw one, don't they?
You end up with when I first moved into my property, there was a lot of supermarket car park plants in the garden. I think the guy used to propagate, and he probably just went over Tesco's to the
Yeah.
bushes and stuff over there. But I've got a couple of remaining Spirea bushes, which did look really Spirea, I think it's called. They did look really, really good for the first couple of years, but this summer has really made them just, I don't know what it is, the heat. I just don't think they like the heat. They're
No.
looking all shriveled and not something I want in my garden for next year. So I think I'll be removing them, planting something different.
Brendan?
So I don't really tolerate ugly plants. But one thing I will say is a Cycas revoluta is a stunning looking plant until it takes winter damage. And
Yeah.
because they take so long to grow out of that sometimes, and they might take ages to flush, I literally hate the idea that it could get damaged in a winter, because it's not going to recover quick unless you've got the right conditions, the heat and everything that goes with it. So I think they're a stunning plant, but they're a bit of a lottery sometimes with the winters that come, because they're just not going to recover quick, and they're going to look they're going to look yellow and horrible, or lose their foliage for a long time. So they can go from one to the other depending on that winter. So that would be my answer.
Yeah, I think for me, it's down to people's different opinions. What you think is a beautiful plant, what you think is an ugly plant. I think for some people, I've got loads of spiky plants in the second half of my garden. So I've got agaves, I've got some cacti, and got yuccas. Some people really don't like that style of plant. They would never dream of growing it in their garden. They'll see that as an ugly plant. But to me, I find that a really interesting group of plants. And to me, they're not ugly. They're beautiful, and they've got the place in the garden. But yeah, Pseudopanax ferox and Pseudopanax crucifolius, they do look like, well, some people describe them when they came to my garden as like why have you got dead Christmas trees in your garden? But they're just because they're just tall black twigs. But I see the beauty in these plants, and I don't consider them ugly plants. That was a great question.
Brook, where Jimmy Blake grows them. He grows them surrounded by what he has in the past, a lot of beautiful flowers and foliage, stuff like that. And they really do look quite like visually arresting, I suppose you'd say. Like not ugly necessarily, like you say, it's very subjective, but to me they're a very stark, like you say, like a Jack Skellington sort of dead Christmas tree, isn't it? It's proper like wow sort of thing. But when you surround them with a bit of beauty, it's a proper contrast. And seeing pictures of that definitely made me think these are very cool plants in their own way. So like I say, definitely in the eye of the beholder, isn't it?
It is. We'll do a few more questions, but we won't do a 24-hour stream. We will wrap up at some point.
I think I've lost a few guests.
But we've got a couple of good questions here, so we'll try to answer these. So AB Aquariums are asking, would you grow palms in the ground even though you know you're moving home in the next 2 years, or would you keep them in pots to avoid transplant shock when digging them up for the move? Any thoughts on this? Anyone?
I think George should do this, because I think he brought a load of palms with him when he moved to his new house, didn't you?
Well, it's a very easy answer. If it's 2 years and you know it's 2 years, then definitely keep them in pots, 100%. If you said 5 years, then maybe some of your Trachycarpus would be better in the ground, because they're going to really stagnate in pots and never really recover from that. And they're almost better being in the ground and then dug up with a good sized root ball, then put back into pots temporarily. But if you know it's definitely 2 years and that's a definite thing, I would just keep them in pots, really keep looking after them, they'll be absolutely fine.
Fab. Got another question. Unless someone else jumps in on that question, we're all the same opinion, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In that time, I'll keep them in.
Yeah, I agree as well. Got another question from Kevin. Do any of you grow Brassioopsis or Oreopanax outside? We've touched on Brassioopsis, but Oreopanax, anyone?
I've got two in the greenhouse. I've got two in the greenhouse, but they're still small plants. Hardiness is generally untested, so no, I won't. I want someone braver than me to try it first. So yeah, Brassioopsis, I have Brassioopsis mitis, Brassioopsis fatsoides, Brassioopsis dumicola, all planted out and all come through winters. Fatsoides and dumicola didn't even lose their leaves. So yeah, no problem for me with them. Free draining soil, quite a sheltered garden. But Oreopanax, yeah, I can't think of anyone that I know that's grown them outside. That may be the case, but I can't think of anyone.
Anyone else experience? No. Okay, hope that answers it. Your question, Kevin. Couple more. So, anybody got any ideas where you can buy a Rhapidophyllum hystrix, which is a plant I mentioned recently in a video, which is a very slow growing palm tree, but extremely hardy. I got mine years ago from Hardy Palms, so I've had it about more than 10 years. So I don't think there's any at the moment for sale from Hardy Palms, but anybody else seen Rhapidophyllum hystrix anywhere?
No, I can't think of anyone. There's a few palms that are just become trickier and trickier to get over the years. Camadoria radicalis is one of them. Lovely palm, but it's just become very, very difficult unless you're trying from seed, which seed has become available now in the last year or so. But the long game.
Yeah, I think that's true for a lot of palm trees. If you want something a bit more niche now, you have to grow it from seed or get it as a seedling, whereas 10, 15-ish years ago was probably the height of the accessibility of palm trees. So, there's less restriction movement of palms across Europe, for instance.
Yeah.
A lot of nurseries would have been able to get more source apps or niche palms. And people like me who's been growing palm trees for a good 15 years, I did get quite a few things. So some of my palm trees in my garden are, hard to come by. And people come around my garden and they'll see it and think, where can I get that? I'm like, well, I bought that 15 years ago now. So I've not really looked recently where I can buy another one. And when you do, I've got a Trachycarpus aureophyllus, which is an extremely rare palm that there's none been for sale for about 15 years. So people see them and think, oh, that looks great in your garden. Where can I get it? And it's like, it's frustrating and disappointing when you can't just say, oh, you can buy it from a garden centre or this nursery because they're so hard to come by. But obviously, for most of us, we've got a backbone of good doers and easy to find plants in the gardens. So yeah, that's a good question. I don't think we know where Rhapidophyllum hystrix is available at the moment, but if anybody knows, put it in the comments below. We'll wrap up soon, I think. The world's probably had enough of us all talking this afternoon for the last hour and a half or so. So we'll just go for 2 more questions and then we will wrap up. So this is a comment from Callum Philpott. He said he had a visitor today who's growing Oreopanax outside. Not sure where he's growing that, but that's interesting to hear.
Yeah, I think the variety and where, because there's a lot of difference from Cornwall to lots of other places. So interesting though, but that's why these questions are good, because you're going to learn what other people can do. And like I said, I wouldn't do it because it's untested, but if someone is braver than me, I'd like to know.
Yeah, I think I'm trying to remember if I remember where Callum's based, and I think it's somewhere bomber. Then I think South Coast, isn't it? It's probably South Coast-ish where the Oreopanax is growing. But if you want to let us know, Callum, in the comments, do so.
It's
And
Kent way, isn't it?
down there. Okay, I think one more question. We've got Mr. Chuffy, and he says, hello. We've had bugs eating so much of our plants this year. Not slugs, just bugs and caterpillars. What does everyone do to counter it? And he just says, oh, our gardens look good, which is, thanks for that comment. I mean, you don't see everything on camera, but we try his best. But
the
the
only-
bugs, yeah,
The
Brendan.
only thing I really struggle with is slugs and snails. Despite having frogs and toads all over the garden every night, I still struggle with them. Other pests, not so much. Lots of wildlife is now coming into the garden, more so because of the pond. I have been known to come out here at night at 10 o'clock at night with a torch and collect 100, 200 slugs and snails because I just get so mad. But I also now don't grow the plants that they love to eat as much. Apart from the asarums, I don't really grow hostas and stuff like that, hardly at all, because I just have been so fed up with it. But I think I'm getting to the point now where nature's helping me fight it back a little bit. But pests generally, I don't really struggle with green fly or anything like that. Caterpillars. Yeah, so it's hard to answer that because it's just slugs and snails for me, really.
I don't really struggle either, but I would say just need to probably identify what particular bugs you have and find a predator for that bug. It could be birds. Introducing birds into the garden is a really good way of dealing with lots of little pests, but not something that I really struggle with. So, I don't know if you've got anything better to add, George.
No, pretty much the same. I think it's none of us use sort of pesticides or anything to spray the garden. That's probably the crucial thing to say. And for me, it's a case of, as Brendan mentioned, move on from the plants that particularly attract them. And also, where you've got a filler plant like I grow Ligularia, they absolutely go for it in the droves. But maybe by eating that, they're not necessarily eating other plants. So I think in my videos with Shane and the time I spent with Shane, he does speak a lot of wisdom and advice on pests and things and growing something from a bit of everything. I think probably broadly, it's more of a mindset thing. If you grow enough different kinds of plants, have enough variety there, and they're not plants which they tend to just go for in the droves, you should pretty much be fine. I just tend to turn a blind eye to a bit of damage if I see it. I think if people leave good comments on your videos, despite all these little bits of blemishes, they shouldn't bother you. I know, Chris, you're the same man. He's got to be plants that they eat and things, but you see past the comments, don't you think?
Yeah.
Broadly, as an overall picture, it's a good garden. Most things look good. We'll keep it just how it is.
Yeah, I've got an answer because I've grown in the greenhouse, so I have had things like fungus gnats and things like aphids and spider mite. And the thing that I think I did wrong was keeping the greenhouse completely shut, the Vitapod lids on, and I basically gave them an absolute haven without any predation in any way, shape, or form. So we offset the balance completely in the pest's favour. There was nothing to keep the numbers down. So what I started doing was lifting all the Vitapod lids off during the day, making sure the greenhouse door was open. And then I created like safe places for the ladybirds. And I noticed that I had loads of ladybirds in there. And this year's the first year that I've not had any problems at all with any aphids. I've noticed the parasitic wasps and hoverflies absolutely destroyed all of the aphids. So I think if you've got a problem with pests, it's because the balance is off. If you've got things like caterpillars, it could be that you need to either put some type of bird feeder or some water source or something to encourage them in, and they'll see that there's a free meal there. So that was my experience with it, is just knowing that the balance was completely off. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you're right, because in a greenhouse, it's a totally artificial environment, and you've just, you're not letting nature take its course and be in balance. Whereas outside, yeah, sometimes you get the pests winning for a while, but then the creatures that will eat those pests will come in.
I'm laughing because I've just seen it says, I wish this didn't have to end.
It's Chris's week.
Yeah, Chris has charged it down. And there was also something, what was that about Tropicon? Look,
Yeah. So yeah, will it be another Tropicon event? I think we'll do Tropicon 2027
I think,
next year.
and someone's after some merchandise.
Yeah, we'll sort that out for next year. Make sure we're fully branded next year with all the merchandise.
Yeah.
I've actually got a mug on the go, a Tropicon 2026 mug. If anyone's interested, if you grow tropical MK, hit me up.
So I think on that note, we'll sort of end our live stream. I want to thank everybody for helping me out. It's not just me talking. We've had lots of people giving their thoughts, opinions, and not just from one place in the country. We've had, we grow plants all across the country here. Apologies, it's very male dominated. So I know we had a couple of comments earlier saying where are all the women. I'm
Well,
sorry.
they've gone. they were left over there and they've waved goodbye.
But thanks for watching, everyone. I do appreciate all the comments. We don't have time to answer all the questions, but hopefully you've got a good flavour of some of the questions that have come through, and you've appreciated our answers.
And so to answer that question, who would do a Chelsea garden? I would.
You would,
Yeah.
All the pressure, the stress that's
Oh,
involved.
it would break me. But I've spoke to Anthony and we've talked about whether we would do a show garden together, and that is something we are considering.
Fantastic. So watch this space. Might be a Chelsea garden in the
Not
works.
Chelsea, little 2x2 sleeper beds one that you get at a thingy show, but something we'd definitely be interested in.
Brilliant. So before we wrap up, if anybody wants to sort of say if they've got any upcoming videos they want to give a shout out for, or maybe something they'll be developing for next year, any new plans for the coming months or year ahead?
No, but that does say this should be on Netflix. So if Netflix is out there, we will all take a little bit of that, and we're quite happy to get involved. So we'll have a bit of that. I'll pass it on. Can't even remember what your question was, Chris. What was your question?
What's coming up? You got any videos you want to tell us about now, or you got any plans for your garden?
George
to
has
talk
got
about?
a really good tour coming up very soon, so check out his channel and watch that.
Scandalous. Straight across to me. Yes, I've got a very good video coming up very soon. Apparently, I've not watched it by myself yet or edited it and put together, and I can control entirely what Brendan chooses to say in the video. So we'll see how it goes. But no, to be honest with you, nothing especially planned. I'm very much week to week what I want to do in the garden, what projects need doing, and then when I do get the opportunity to visit an amazing garden like this, it's a privilege to visit and put something together. And to be honest, I've not watched a huge amount of tropical garden videos myself this year, but everyone sat around here. There's other creators as well that couldn't make it today, putting out some fantastic videos this year, and it's great to see so much sort of diversity in terms of different locations, different plants being grown, different environments and sort of atmospheres created in gardens, and also just get so many different experiences from people trying these unusual plants, across the country. So definitely, watch everyone's videos here. And Eddie has put up some fantastic tours recently.
Oh, cheers, mate. Appreciate that. And that segues perfectly into my answer. So my one is I went round to 50 Shades of Green, who've created a sensational space. And I've got it on the nod so far that we're going to do a little bit of a collab where they give me some ideas of trying how to replicate that privacy, because I'm not overlooked at the back. There's quite established plants at the back, but as soon as I start doing any YouTubing videos, I've got 3 houses looking straight at me when I'm filming, so I'm trying to get rid of that. So I'm going to take some advice on what trees and things that they would use, and I've not got many trees in the garden, as well as a whole new project that I'm going to try and remove a lot of the lawn, because the squirrels basically have destroyed the lawn. So it's not one of those where I can try and keep it, and everyone says keep the lawn, but it's not an option because it's just been dug up repeatedly. So yeah, a little bit of a collab and a new project coming.
I think I just see on there we had a hello from Richard's wife. So
Okay.
from Richard's garden. It's just random, some of these coming up.
I think Chris has left out all the bits.
Yeah.
I've edited what I've said. I've not
I
read
like
every
that
comment that's
one.
come through.
Apparently this is going to be hosted by Monty Don in a few years. It's going to go downhill then, isn't it?
Yeah.
Let's have some real tropical
Yeah,
gardens.
exactly.
Right, let's give it to Chris.
So thank you everyone for joining us this afternoon. We do appreciate you joining us live. Hope you've enjoyed the chat. Hopefully you enjoy the videos coming out on our channels as well. There'll be links to everybody's channel on this video. And if you didn't manage to see the start of it, or if you want to see questions that were answered earlier and you didn't see, there'll be a full rerun of this on my YouTube channel, and I'll edit it later as well to keep the best bits. So there'll be a best of video coming soon as well. For Netflix, yeah, special one. So thank you very much. I've got to say, obviously, thanks to Brendan for organising it, for bringing us all together and having such a fantastic garden for us to enjoy. And
It's been enjoyable. I've liked it.
So, and thank you everyone once again for watching. Join us next year in 2027 for TROPICON 2027. That was a fantastic ending, wasn't it? Yeah. So yeah, thank you for watching. Bye now.
That went better than expected.
I'm
I haven't cut off yet.